Hello, how are you, family? Delighted to be with you again. This time I bring you a colorimetry class. I want to tell you that I am going to be doing a series of classes for all of you who are starting out in this world of beauty. And there are people who tell me that they have studied for many years and that they would like to refresh that stage of study a little. So the first class that we are going to give right now, which I feel that many of you need, because I read the comments where you have many doubts about how to apply the dyes so that they last longer. On which lid should you apply the dye to get the tones that you really require? That is why I made this video to talk to you about the stages of bleaching, and I am going to show you step by step and explain why it is so important to take this into account when creating any type of color, any type of nuance, any type of highlights. Just stay with this video because I know you are going to like it a lot, because it is going to clarify a lot of doubts and it is the first of several, so that you can take the sequence and reaffirm your knowledge of colors. We have this table where I am going to explain to you through it how the stages of discoloration occur, which are very important. I recommend that you memorize this table because it will help you a lot and will make work in the classroom easier for you who are learning, or perhaps for many ladies who are at home and who want to understand a little more what colorimetry. Hair goes through different phases when bleaching is tinty. I want you to observe how black hair gradually lightens until it reaches a pale yellow. This can occur more than anything. This type of discoloration can occur in virgin and thick hair. It is where you can get a much lighter discoloration. We are always going to find these natural tones: black, which is 1, 2, which is a very dark brown, 3, which is a brown, and I was missing here 4, which is a medium brown. These will be derived from all these tones. Many of you asked me, Betty, I just applied an ash blonde dye and it turned orange. I don't understand why I can't eliminate that orange reflection that I don't like. Oh, you know what? I applied an ashy dye on a gold base and it looks very yellow on me, and I don't understand why it looks so yellow on me if I always apply ashy. Remember that ashy tones also help us neutralize orange reflections, very yellow reflections, and other reflections that I will also give you that class later. Right now in this video, I want to talk about the stages of bleaching, how they occur, and why they are so important when applying any type of compositor. I'm going to explain it to you. If we are going to do a bleaching and our client has a black dye, when coloring this hair, it will go through different stages, the ones we have below. The first stage, we are going to find red tones, where for many who have already done it, you will notice that they always find red tones. They have a red lip. When they start to discolor, they cannot leave that stage because the red tone, that is this one, always appears. 1, 2. It can be a violet, red, or a deep red, but there will always be a red tone, which is our first stage of discoloration. This top looks more or less like level 4, which is like a chestnut, but with a red reflection. Now I am going to explain to you Why all the dyes that you apply at this point usually always have a red reflection? Because you are in the first stage and your hair base is always red, ukin tadi go. If you apply a 4.1 dye because you say, I want to eliminate that red and I don't want that intense red to remain, I want to tell you that even if you apply a 4.11, you will have a discoloration background that will always be red. When this hair is fading, that red reflection will always appear because its discoloration background is red. You can apply at this stage to the height of 4. It can be 411, 415, 4.3, 4.41, 4.5, 4.65, 4. Here, if you observe, there are both dyes with the kaosh reflections and with ash reflections katraite golden reflection, which is a photo redar with kabir stritiya, with ash copper reflections, with mahogany reflections, with reddish brown reflections. You can apply any of these tones and you will always get a red reflection. If you apply a dye at this stage with a red reflection or a violet reflection, that dye will have a lot of durability because its reflection is red. That red isn't going to wash off here. This is the ideal background to apply brown tones, violet tones, those that look like onions. This is the ideal background for you to apply those tones, and you will be completely sure that they will not wash away because its discoloration background is red. So that is what you should understand more than anything, because when you apply dyes and want to obtain a tone, red always comes out, copper comes out, because they apply it in bleaching funds that may not be appropriate. We are going to go to the second stage. In the first stage, we find that it is a red looking violet. It is a dark red. In the second stage, we already have a more defined red. This is the second stage. Here, if we apply dyes at the height of a light brown with a red reflection, it will look perfectly fine. Better, we're gonna get a lot of durability with that shade. That's why it's important for you to know. Here we can apply dyes up to 5, whatever we want. If we want to neutralize a little that red background that we have in the discoloration background, what do we have to do? We have to apply dye with an ashy reflection, which is 5.1. Let's cite an example, 5.2. We are going to neutralize the red reflection a little, but not completely. This will go away with the washes, and in the end, we will still be left with the red reflection. Here in this stage, in the second stage, if you want to make a bright red dye and for it to last a long time, try to look for the second stage where the red is, when you want to apply red dyes, always look for the second stage, because here you will get very firm red tones. They can apply at the height of 5 if they have a red left at the height of 5. The red was at the height of 6, you can apply reds at the height of 6. Remember, that dye does not lighten dye. Not because they have a height that is in the second stage and is at the height of 5? Do they want to apply a red at the height of a 7 because it is not going to clear up? It is very important that you learn to distinguish how you should apply the coloring. If my lightening foundation is at the level of 5, at the level of a red brown, then I must apply dyes at that same level to achieve warm tones. Passionate about the world of beauty and want to learn how to cut hair, highlight dyes, highlight makeup, and many more things, is designed especially for you. So I invite you to subscribe and ring the bell to activate notifications, and you will receive my videos every time I upload them. I already want a lighter red, then I move on to the third stage where it already gives me a red orange lightening background. Here I can apply both reds and coppers and they give me a lighter tone. Here I can apply tones at their height of 6, ash and red or copper or mahogany. Here it is very important, just as I told you before, that if you want to neutralize this orange red, you have to do it with a dye, with an ashy reflection, but make it clear that when you apply it, you will possibly slightly neutralize the reflection, but not completely. But la manera si que conoyo fledida. That is why you must understand the clarification background that it has in order to understand that when you wash that hair, the orange-red color will remain. There are people who write to me and tell me, I just want a platinum one, and they are at the height of an orange-red and they want a platinum, and they want me to give them a formula with which they are here, they will be platinum. That is definitely not possible. You cannot platinum hair that is in stage 3 and whose bleaching background is orange red. They have to keep working to get the right discoloration background to apply that platinum. This is very important for you to understand, so that when you want to apply a dye, because it is very common for clients to come to the salon and tell us, you know what, I just applied red but it didn't last. It didn't last at all. After 3, 4, 5 washes, that red went away, and it was a very pretty red that I really liked, and I wanted to change color. And it turns out that I asked you, what color were you wearing before when you applied red? No? Well, notice that he had a gold one. Let's think that she was in the 6th stage and she had a light yellow and she applied the red. The red in this stage. Of course, that red is going to fade because its discoloration background is yellow, there is nothing red in it. What is going to happen? That will throw off the tone and will fade completely and very quickly. For a red tone to last and remain, it must be in the 2nd stage or the 3rd stage. In these 2 stages, you can apply the red tones and be completely sure that these tones will last. That is why it is important for you to understand this, so that when the clients arrive, you know what to apply. My client wants a red, but she is in the yellow stage. And how am I going to apply the red so that the color doesn't leak? That's when other techniques come in, the auxiliary techniques, which is when we do pre-pigmentation, which is when we add pigment to the hair so that it can receive the red and not fade so easily. Well, then remember that if we want red dyes, we are going to go to the second or third stage, because here we have the appropriate background so that the red dye has durability. We are going to the fourth stage. In the fourth stage, we have an orange reflection. At this moment, copper tones are in their prime. They look very pretty, but they are also tones that fade too quickly. And why do they run away too quickly? Because the same thing happens. We want to apply them in tones, in very light bases, which do not have the appropriate background for that color to set when applied. Or if you want to apply an orange, an intense copper, and make it look very pretty, you have to do it in the fourth stage, where we have the appropriate discoloration background dosta, which is a copper. Well, we are in the seventh stage. It turns out that we did a bleach because we want to level of a pale yellow, because we want a silver, which is the tone that everyone right now usually wants. But it turns out that I did my bleaching and my hair was left with an orange background, and I want to get to silver. You will definitely not be able to apply the silver, because if you apply the silver, it will not look good. It will not be a pretty color. It will be an unpleasant color. Well, I'm on orange, and I'm gonna stop the discoloration because I'm gonna wait a few days and I'm gonna try again later. What can we do here? So that orange that we have in the coloring background is not so strong, and we can bring a more pleasant color on those days, because I don't like coppers, I don't like red. We can apply dyes with the sheer reflections, which can be 7.1, 7.01, 7.2, 12, 7.2, or 7.31. Fun. If I apply these dyes on an orange base, I will counteract the orange reflection a little, and I will have a tone that is more suitable to wait for the next bleaching to reach a silver. That way you can counteract the orange reflection a little, but it turns out that my client wants a copper, a very cool copper, a bright copper. Well, I want to tell you that she is at the ideal stage for that copper tone to last perfectly well. We can apply a 744, a 745, a 734. Any color that has copper, they will be fixed perfectly well. I think we are understanding this. I am going to suggest that you watch this video as many times as necessary until the stages of discoloration become clear to you, because this is the basis of colorimetry. Remember that we are going to do several voices with different topics to help you understand this more. So when you ask me, Betty, how do I make a new one? Oh, what is silver? And it turns out that I have orange hair and I apply silver to it and it looks very ugly. I am going to send them to this little board so that you can understand how to achieve the colors without error. Well, we have already passed the first stage, which is the violet red. We already saw the second one, which is the red coloring background, and we saw the third stage, which is an orange red. The fourth stage, we have the completely orange background. When you bleach, you see how the hair eliminates layers and layers and layers of color to lighten. Here in the fifth stage, we already have a yellow. Here we see the cheek yellow, that strong yellow, that resistant yellow that not many like and that they want to disappear. Here we are at a point where we can already apply many tones. Many tones, almost most of the tones we can apply. We can even apply fantasy tones and they look very pretty at this stage. By the way, the red and orange fantasy tones also look perfect in the red stage, in the second stage, the orange in the fourth stage. These are ideal for applying fantasy red or copper tones. Here in the yellow stage, you have to be very careful when the hair is yellow because many of you have enough problems that later I will also make another video to explain how to remove that green reflection, because you have the yellow stage and you say, right now I remove it easily, I remove that yellow stage, I don't like it. I'm going to apply ashy dye, or others who are smarter apply even chrome green, and it turns out that in less than 1 or 2 minutes they get greenish hair, very unpleasant rat-like hair, because they wanted to neutralize the yellow with the green directly. This is not done because here in the fifth stage we already have yellow and the hair is already very porous due to bleaching. In the same way that you are removing the tone, it absorbs the pigment very easily. Here it is very important when you are at this stage and want to achieve ashy tones. Here it is extremely important that you pre-pigment with warm tones. At this stage, I tell you the yellow. You have to be very careful when applying the tones with which we are going to tint, or the tone that we are going to leave, because if not, it can turn us into a very, very ugly green. Here at this height, you can apply up to 7 if you want to lower the tone a little. All dyes with an 8 finish can be applied. 8.04, 84, 845, 8.24, 8.3, 8.31, 8.01, 8.01, all levels to 8 to number 8. You cannot apply them in the yellow stage, but remember that if it is an ashy tone, you have to pre-pigment, because otherwise you run the risk of your hair turning green. And then I'm going to explain how to remove that green tone. Here, if you notice, we already have a yellow one. Almost all the reflections that we have in our hair are already being eliminated. We already left the orange behind, we already left the orange red behind, we left the red, we left the dark red or violet. All those tones are already left behind. Here at this height, if you were not careful when doing the bleaching, if you did not do it correctly, at this height, the hair could either be very good, very healthy, or it could break here at this height. Then I'm also going to give you another video on how to do the bleaching properly to get to the 7th stage without risk. We go with the 6th stage. Here we already have a light yellow. We are almost leaving the cheek yellow aside. Here we are already cleaning up the yellow more, and here we can already apply tones at the level of 90. At this point, you can already tone highlights and they look very pretty, or do those elegant blondes, those beige blondes, those blondes that look without a yellow reflection, or that blonde that looks without an orange reflection that many women want so much because they have to go until the 6th stage to be able to eliminate that strong yellow. At this height, you can apply all the tones at the height of 9. Normally when we do bleaching, we can reach the 6th stage. This stage is very good to get the colors that we need for clean blondes, for those beautiful highlights. You can get to this one where the light yellow is and apply all the shades with the number 9. In the nails, if you want to darken, you can darken however you like, because darkening light hair is the easiest. The detail is to lighten dark hair, eliminate the reflections that many people do not like, because the conflict that we Latinas have with red tones and copper tones is truly impressive. Nobody wants to have a dye with an orange reflection, a dye with a red reflection. Everyone wants to have a sheer highlights. So when you are asked for a tone with an ashy reflection and you want it pure, imagine and think about how much you have to go to be able to offer a tone free of orange reflections and free of copper reflections. That's why it's very important to tell whether it's your client, your friend, your mom, whoever, that they have dark hair, and have them come in and say, you know what, I apply a dye, but I don't want it to be red or orange. Please, I want you to apply an ash on me. Tell them that it will not depend on you whether they do not have that reflection, because in reality, they already have the pigment in their hair. In order to offer a dye without those reflections, we definitely have to bleach until we reach height 6. We have already reached light yellow, which is the 6th stage. Now we go to the 7th stage, which is every woman's dream right now. A stage where they want to apply the silver tone, the pastel tones that are so fashionable right now in a fantasy tone. For that, we need to obtain the pale yellow that has already been completely lost, that is no longer noticeable, that the hair is almost white. Here at this stage is precisely where you can apply that silver tone. To reach this stage, I recommend that you do it little by little so that you do not damage your hair, because it is not nice to have hair that breaks, hair that looks very damaged, hair that looks different or is shades when you want to achieve discoloration like this. It is important that in this process you are applying the appropriate treatment so that this hair has a lot of resistance, so that this hair ultimately arrives healthy and can show off hair with a beautiful color. Because if you arrive here with disastrous hair, believe me, all this path that you traveled will not be worth it. Because remember that hair is part of your image, and if your hair looks damaged, looks mistreated, looks with different shades, talk of your person, That is why we as professionals have to educate our clients that first of all they must have healthy hair so that their image looks impeccable. So dear family, I want to ask you who are so interested in growing professionally, in learning everything about colorimetry, to please memorize this. This is the table. We are going to take a photo and we are going to leave it at the end for you to review. And little by little you will understand that if you apply the dyes with the appropriate bleaching background, you will be great colorist and your work will speak for you. But first of all, you have to learn this because everything else follows from this. Sian always speak the truth to customers. Do not try to deceive them because they do not know this little table, but you do know it. So you have to explain to them why sometimes when they ask you for a color, you can't make it. Not because they don't have the knowledge, of course they do, but because they already know what it takes to obtain the color that they need at this moment. Well, let's end this video. Remember that this is going to be one of several more videos that I will be uploading to help you understand a little more what colorimetry is and to learn how to apply it to yourself, your clients, or your family members. I send you a big hug and many blessings. And remember that your comments are very important to me because they are the basis of my following videos, and thanks to those comments I am making these videos to clarify many doubts. While I say goodbye again, I send you a big hug and many blessings. See you in the next one.